Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, hello. How are you folks?
Very well. Great
Excellent.
to be here with all of you.
Yeah,
Very
nice to
excited to
catch
be
up
here.
together. Nice to
Indeed.
catch up together. Nice to catch up. Okay, we are here. I'm Radovan. Javier is with us. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And Cuba from Poland, temporarily located in Spain. If I'm not wrong, also Javier in Spain, Barcelona. I'm located in Serbia, Novi Sad. And of course, I have a pleasure and privilege to kick off this panel discussion like what is hot in data world in 2022 season autumn winter. But we will see. Actually, Javier, can you introduce yourself a bit and then Cuba can do the same? I will do it at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the co-founder of Geniverse, which is one of the first generative AI platforms that were launched at the beginning of the generative AI revolution. And well, in general, I am active in many different parts of AI. Also in the part of data visualization, in some areas of research as well. But my focus in the last years has been generative AI. And this is the angle that I expect to bring to this panel. I'm very active also in terms of education regarding this part of AI, as well as all the discussions that are going on nowadays. Between the perspectives of corporations and companies, and also artists and creatives. Within all of these matters. Yeah.
Great. I like your connection between art and science and tech. That's super great. We'll talk about that later. Cuba,
Great.
your turn.
Hey, so I'm Kuba Michorny. I'm a co-founder and CTO at Untried. So we work with medium to large organizations and help them gain visibility across their data. And we focus on unstructured data, and even more so, we are right now focusing on text. And so we as you can imagine, then we focus on NLP algorithms, which was they also have experienced this kind of boom and revolution in recent years. So we are applying those to kind of hard business problems. One of our main clients is the police in the UK, where we help them with the emergency and non-emergency calls. So we provide context for the operators from across the whole organization, across the whole policing kind of infrastructure. Based on what is said in the conversation, we surface relevant information using different types of AI, like speech to text and NLP. But I'm sure we'll get into the more of the weeds. I don't want to kind of hog the microphone.
Yeah, that's great. I'm Radovan
Very good.
Bacevic, senior data engineer from GitLab.com, and usually I'm working on enterprise data platform to get the data from our product called GitLab, of course, 30 plus million users. By the way, also we are biggest all remote company in the world without offices, but still doing a great job. And also I'm very happy to be in this panel, also moderate this panel. So I have a couple of questions among all other things. As Fleur asks us, Javier, what is your favorite artist? Let's open with that, because I know you connect art and tech. So more than eager to hear that. Which one is your
Oh,
favorite?
thank you. No, that's a great question. What's my favorite artist? I mean, of course, that's kind of an impossible question to answer because I have like a million artists that I love. But I'm gonna tell you one that is relevant to our discussion here today. One that I think is it fits very well. That is Rafik Anadol. For those that know Rafik Anadol, Rafik Anadol is an artist that combines basically artificial intelligence, right, with beautiful visualizations and representations and interactive installations for museums. And he's got a studio with, I think, like 15 people based in Los Angeles, but his origins are from Turkey. And he does absolutely beautiful work, like creating these big scale interactive installations that basically get their input, their triggers, their data from AI architectures. And he's created some fascinating work. For example, one of them is Melting Memories, that uses actually neuroscience data to create these incredibly dynamic forms that actually mirror the behavior of memories in the human brain. And he's got another amazing one called Quantum Memories, It's amazing. So Rafik Anadol, you can research him and you'll be amazed.
Yeah, but I will do that definitely, man. Especially he combines a zillion things like artists, neuroscience, diversity, artificial intelligence. I would say everything or almost everything.
This is the sort of artist that I'm passionate about nowadays, right? The multi-dimensional one, you know.
Yeah,
Another
exactly.
one that I really like to talk about is Wallace Chang, you know, based in Hong Kong. I don't want to go along with this, but you can also research Wallace Chang in Google, and you'll be amazed because this is a guy that works with like the physical stuff, you know, like you know, gemstones and stuff. But he has done a lot of innovation, you know, creating new techniques and new ways to play with the physical, but then merging it as well with other types of expression. Again, a multi-dimensional artist as well. This is the sort of artist I love. You know, that's why when I was a little boy, Da Vinci was my favorite. Yeah, this sort of multi-dimensional person.
Yeah,
Do you think, talking about this first artist that you mentioned, that some of the kind of the triggers for the generative art were, I suppose, like EEG signals or something like that? So do you think those are they just kind of sources of basically random number generators for this, or is there some kind of inherent meaning to those signals that inform the art? Because I think sometimes those are just like a gimmick, right? Like that you use something that's right. It's like a thoughts that are visualized.
I mean, Cuba, that is a great question, because to be honest, I don't know. And that is a great question because when you see melting memories, you say, like, okay, on paper, this sounds amazing, but there is actually not a precise explanation of what exactly in the data is driving what in the visualization. I think, to be honest, I think a lot of these artistic works are just trying to inspire people, you know. They are just trying to make us reflect with new perspectives about deep matters. And I guess, you know, it is important, but you know, part of it is maybe, you know, but I think it's a great question. No? I would love to. I mean, ideally, there should be a very clear correspondence, but I think many times is what you say. Many times is there is more or less a connection, and maybe it's not so precise. Yeah.
I'm not saying right. Maybe I worded it wrong. Right. It's not necessarily a bad thing if it's just like a kind of incidental connection, that it's basically just a random number generator for like this.
It's great, because for example, if we could actually see a visual representation of the memories of human beings, you know, dynamically changing visually, this would be like historical, right? It would be historic. So obviously they are not doing that, right?
Yeah.
They are somehow just taking the EEG data and, you know, formatting it in some way and somehow relating some dynamics of it to the movement of this.
Exactly.
That's what they are doing, right? So at the end of the day, there is kind of a tenuous, subtle connection, but it's enough to inspire people and to make us understand, okay, this that I'm seeing, to be honest, this is a little bit related to a project. Well, no, mine is more rigorous. Okay, I have a project called the Lost Landscape, lostlandscape.com, where I do basically a visualization of the lost landscapes of training processes of neural network with actual videos, you know, over time as the network learns, you know, it goes deeper into the valleys and stuff like that. But this is literally taking very precise data from the thing, you know. But of course, some newspapers, when I launched this project, they wrote, "Oh, you can see the neural networks learning," you know. Okay, you cannot see the neural networks learning. You're just seeing the error signal, the different signal between what you expect to obtain and what you are obtaining. Error signal changing and going down from the peaks to the valleys. That's what you are seeing, right? But you are not seeing actually. You know, you infer that. So it's a little bit of a similar thing in a way, you know.
Sorry for that. I think this is a great introduction to set of our questions, and also I just want to follow up on our first questions about generative AI revolution and its impacts today and its coming years in terms of job market, verticals, creative expression in humans, legal matters, and copyright etc. I think I can find a better person than two of you to ignite this discussion about the generative AI revolution. So, Cuba, what is your opinion about this? about how things will change in the future or nearly future, how things have changed already. What do you think?
Of course, this is a super complex matter and a super complex question. So I can give you a couple of random thoughts about this, what I've seen today. So obviously, I focus on text or on basically textual data. So I leave the generative images and videos to Javi, and I'll speak to the text. So I think we've all seen a lot of tools that help you, for example, write a blog post or write a tweet, right, or write a product titles and stuff like that, right? That generate them using GPT-3. I think I've even seen books, like actual physical books, sold on Amazon they were written using GPT-3. So like this one big model that I think Google and OpenAI made, right?
Yep.
And so I think one reaction that people have to this that are not in this world, they're like, oh my God, suddenly millions and millions of people will be without a job, right? Because this intelligence replaces them. I don't think that's going to happen, and it's not happening, and it will not happen, right? So this has been the case with a lot of other technologies before, and especially AI, which is kind of fresh in our memory, that people were like, oh, AI will steal our jobs. But jobs usually, the way I see this and the way this always plays out when we work with, for example, big corporates, is that each job is like a set of tasks, right? Some of those tasks will be automated away by the AI. And 99% of the time, I think that's a very good thing, right? Because those tasks are the ones that are boring and people hate them, and it actually makes people like their job better, and it gives them time to actually work on things that they like.
And really matters,
they like those things because they enjoy using their creativity, their kind of human judgment, they're like connecting with other humans and stuff like that, right? So this similar thing I think is happening with generative AI, is that some parts of the job will be automated away, but that's in the future. Right now, the generative textual AI, for example, gives you those drafts or like the points that it gives you. Some of them are amazing, but some of them are completely missing the point, right? Yeah. So you still have to use this judgment to kind of filter those things, or maybe this is just an inspiration to you. But I think the point of all of this is that this is more about augmenting human intelligence rather than replacing human intelligence, right? And this is, I think, the analogy a lot of people make, and I kind of like, it's like this Iron Man suit, right? That's like, is this and augments your human abilities, right? And you have to know how to use. It's a tool, basically, right? You have to know how to use this tool to get the value out of it. Yeah, it might not be actually so obvious.
Yeah, I treat it as a tool. And definitely, that's a good answer. At least I like it, because from the history, like, okay, Steam Machine has introduced, and people scared, like, oh yeah, when we get rid of, we don't have job or no money or nothing. But it will be super good and super interesting for us. It's just a normal stage in the human civilization, and of course, this time it's, instead of Steam Machine, it's AI on the play. So yeah, I share your opinion. Definitely, fully agree with you. And also, we will get rid of these boring jobs and do more creative stuff, if you can say like that, right? Probably sometimes it will be difficult, especially in the beginning. Everything is still developing. But yeah, I think good point, definitely. Javier, do you have something to add on this? I mean,
absolutely.
Definitely have,
yeah. I agree, Cuba, with all you said, that that is not gonna get rid of those things. Another approach that I like to explain to take off this question is the approach of the system 1 versus system 2 thinking. Like the Nobel Prize Daniel Kahneman speaks about these two ways we have of processing information in the brain. So system 1 is our type of thinking that is more intuitive, parallel, mainly subconscious, right, implicit knowledge. And system 2 is more the way of thinking that is slow, sequential, mainly conscious, related to planning sequences. So what's happening is that what deep learning and also what generative AI, all of AI is really mastering nowadays and in the last years is that system 1 thinking. And again, to understand the difference, think about when you are learning to drive or learning to play tennis or learning to play piano. At the beginning, you have to go very slowly, paying a lot of conscious attention to the little steps, step by step, that you have to learn. Okay. And once you have learned, then it becomes subconscious, and then it becomes like automatic or semi-automatic, and you don't have to pay conscious attention anymore. So this is the difference. So what's happening is that there are a lot of studies in life that show that we take like 30 something thousand decisions a day, but we're only conscious of about 0.24 of them. So a lot of our life takes place subconsciously. And what's happening these days is that AI is really only mastering system 1, but because so much of our lives is system 1, this is taking us already very far. And now, connecting with what Cuba said, I once gave a talk that was titled Más tiempo para lo más humano, which in Spanish it means more time for the more human. And connecting with what you, Cuba, said, basically AI is helping us to get rid of all of those tasks that we don't like, that we don't enjoy, right? And it's giving us more time for what we enjoy, which in this case, regarding generative AI, is, for basically setting the directions, the seeds, polishing the results. So, basically is this the generative AI is this Iron Man suit again that it amplifies our creative muscles. It allows us to very quickly explore, like cook in this subconscious pot, cook all of these infinite possibilities for prototyping and brainstorming, and then we pick whatever we like. And ourselves, we refine it, we redirect it in this iterative loop, etc., etc. So we maintain the system 2 because AI cannot do the system 2 well yet. So we maintain the system 2 capabilities, we coordinate, we supervise, we direct, we keep doing that. And that's why, as Cuba said, these jobs are not going to disappear. These jobs are going to incorporate AI within the system 1 part of their executions. AI will automate all of those system 1 tasks, and we will keep doing the system 2 tasks at least over the next decade. If you ask me what's going to happen in 20 or 30 years, I will give you a different answer.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. This is one of my favorite books from Daniel Kahneman. I like distinction,
exactly.
what you expose, like system 1, system 2, and it's a good, really, really good reflection what AI can replace. So also my question or just thought on that is how to persuade people from fear from AI to be excited about the AI, because it's more like help for us than some bad master can keep us jobless, right? So what do you think, how we can act in order to move people to be excited about that rather than be scared from AI? Is there any good way or good proposition for that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are many different things. First of all, I would tell people to ask about chess, for example. When AI overcame humans playing chess, a lot of people at the beginning said, oh my God, this is the end of the world. The machine
Yes,
took
definitely.
over. But in reality, what happened? What happened is that we started using AI to train our chess playing, okay? And we kept playing with other imperfect humans because nobody got interested. Oh my God, let's all watch competitions of machines playing chess with each other. Nobody got interested in that. We continued being interested in watching imperfect humans play with each other, but we incorporated AI to train ourselves. This is exactly what's going to happen all the time because AI, again, is only system 1. So we're going to take AI to automate system 1 tasks and to train our own system 1 capabilities. And we're just going to keep exercising all the rest ourselves. So there is nothing to fear at this point. There would only be something to fear if AI mastered system 2. Now, but my prediction is that by the time AI masters system 2, which will happen, if you think about Neuralink today, Neuralink is beginning that path of us merging with tech and AI, right? Neuralink, the company of Elon Musk. Now, if you extrapolate towards the future, you can see a convergence where what Neuralink is beginning today and AI evolving towards system 2 capabilities eventually will converge into a point in which there won't be any more that difference of we are here and AI is there, because we will be merging with each other. So by the time consciousness, System 2, whatever, by the time that thing is dominated, there won't be that much separation. It won't be that relevant to say what happens.
You think it will be so mixed, like part of infrastructure, like it was electricity in past days, or like it's internet now. You have internet literally everywhere. Like you don't think about electricity or internet, right? It's just infrastructure. It's here, right? So probably, as you said, in the future it will be somehow interpolated and connected. Like Neuralink plus artificial intelligence, it will be infrastructure. It will be everywhere, right?
Yeah, it will be everywhere, and in every.
I think
everywhere. Yeah.
Interesting aspects of this discussion is that, like what you said, Radovan, now, right? That internet is everywhere, but it's not everywhere, right? Like what's the number? I don't. 8 billion people now, right? Last week, I think.
And that's our that's our context in modern world. Like we're
exactly. In the Western world, right?
In a distant village in Africa, it's so exotic, right? I mean,
yeah,
it was wrong, but in my context, in my world,
I know, and I think the same. And I'm like, I stood myself like, oh, actually, it's not like that, right? And that I think those very powerful tools, like the Iron Man suit, right? The Iron Man, the actual Iron Man the actual one in the fictional movie, he had all this power, right? Because he had the suit. No other people had the suit. And then more people, whatever, I don't remember now. But like it's those tools concentrate the power in actually the hands of the few, right? So I think kind of echoing what Harry said, that there's no, I feel the same, and I think the same, that there's no danger of like a singularity, AI kind of overtaking the world. But I think there is a danger of AI kind of widening this power gap, where like people that have access to a powerful AI it kind of gives them even more power, so they can grab more power, right? It's like a exponential system. And even the Neuralink. So I'm not sure how whoever is listening to us, if everyone's familiar with that, this is just they're like trying to develop those like micro needles to implant into the actual brain to basically be able to sense the signals in neurons. Of course, this technology is very far away still. Even those micro needles, you cannot possibly kind of detect a single neuron activity, right? It's still millions of neurons that the electrodes pick up. So there's still a lot of, it's kind of noisy and there's not that much resolution. But I have no doubt it progresses, Moore's law and all of this. Anyway, so like this then concentrates power in the hands of the few, right? And those are the dangers, right? And that's why democratizing AI and all the things that OpenAI is doing, this is definitely the way to go with all of those new technologies.
Yeah, actually, this introduction to our next question, actually, we are all aware about this exploding of data usage and importance of data in last few years, so last decade. And what is your opinion about how we leverage data and AI usage in the right way? You said there was a fear like, okay, few of them can control everything, but also about the ethical way of how we use the data, how we'll use the data and AI mechanism. Do you feel any fear of that? Because we spoke about fear, like people were scared the AI itself, but also about ethical usage of AI. How we can treat that? Can we fight that? Or what is the perspective of that?
Yeah, beginning with generative AI, because I'm really interested in that matter. I just wrote an article related to that. Because, when these big
Sorry for interrupting, Javier. Please, you will paste your link. It's a great text. I read it in the morning, so we can share it with the audience later on. Sorry, go on.
Thank you. I will write it. Thank you, Radovan. So there are all of these groups that are training these data sets that are the foundation of the generative AI revolution. And not only that, also regarding our friend Cuba, also GPT and all the natural language models, large language models as well. Now, the problem is that the material, the content that is being used to train these networks is coming from artists and from people that have not given permission for this data to be used to train these networks. Now, what's happening in the very last days is that companies like Shutterstock or Getty and others they are already beginning to incorporate generative AI onto their platforms. For example, Shutterstock made an agreement with OpenAI, etc. They are doing it very fast. Why? Because they know if they do nothing, other startups will take over the stock image space. So they're doing it very quickly. But they are very conscious about this problem. They are very conscious that all of those artists that have not given their permission, this is a big issue. So they are also saying, wait a minute, we're going to create a fund that is going to compensate those artists and creatives whose works were used to train these networks, which is great. But how exactly are they going to implement that? Nobody knows yet. So there are a lot of big question marks, But yeah, regarding ethics and the usage of data, we have that problem. And then there is also something called, as you saw in the article, the Content Authenticity Initiative begun by Adobe. There is the good news is that there is all of this open source movement that is trying to create tools that will allow us to track and to understand when we see some digital content, where does it come from? Is it using generative AI or not, etc., with provisions for privacy, etc. So the good news is that I see this responsible AI movement that is growing. People are conscious about these ethical issues. People are trying to create tools and mechanisms to basically compensate, the artists and the creatives, and also be able to track where things come from. And I see good movements in this direction, but there is no doubt that from a legal standpoint, there is going to be mess. In fact, very recently, there's been already the very first lawsuits regarding these issues and generative AI. So yeah, it's a complex issue, but one that is very important for me as a mixture of a generative AI person and an AI person and an artist that I am as well. I feel a lot of responsibility to really care about the fellow humans and creatives, because we have people like, I always put the example of Greg Rutkowski, this guy that for decades has produced a body of work and style, and now everybody's putting Greg Rutkowski in all the prompts of generative AI generations, producing incredible stuff. And I swear to you, if you don't put his name versus you put his name, the difference is dramatic. Okay, it's like from crap to incredible, basically. So these things matter a lot, So we need to compensate these people. And I'm glad to see that big companies are already acknowledging this, and they are working on creating mechanisms to compensate creatives. Yeah.
I agree with you, Javier. Nice expose, because I fully agree with transparency is the key, and also see two angles here. One is low regulatory, also is pressure for community, just to keep everything in good shape in let's say, legal borders. And also about this compensation, it's also, I would say, super interesting topic for all of us. How you should measure something, how you should compensate the artists who provide, actually in this case, raw material or inputs, right? I didn't consider that angle of thinking, but it's also a good point regarding to that. But I would say, yeah, pressure probably from community and low regulatory can do the thing and somehow protect us and force people, companies, countries to use also, ethically.
Yeah, and it's also very important, the issue of tracking, because imagine from now on things like art competitions, art competitions, or, you need to be able to track really from now on, if this is all fully automated or humans are involved or they are not involved. The issue of tracking now what is involved in the creation of something is going to be crucial. Also regarding like deep fakes, anything, the need to validate the authenticity of content is going to be crucial.
That already has happened, right? A couple of months ago, when DALL-E was just released or something like that, there was some like kind of local competition for an artwork for the city or something like that, and this automatically generated picture basically won, and people were very, very, very unhappy about this. So someone asked this question that people are scared because AI is a black box and they don't understand how it works. If this person, Ferdinand, go watch my talk that I had earlier today, where we got a little bit into that kind of the basics of how actually AI works. It's not so scary. The scary part is like the amounts of data that are concentrated at those like very simple actually algorithms that then produces amazing results.
I think also one thing that is concerning people, because what is really amazing, honestly, is like I know people that are working, in the research of many of these big models, and I will tell you that even the people that are creating these models, they find them unreasonably good. Their performance, what
Yes.
they are achieving, right? Cuba, you've seen that. We've all seen that. Even the people that create them, they say, okay, it doesn't make sense that it's even though I know what it's doing, and I know the mechanism, it still doesn't make sense that it's able to do it so well. So there are a lot of mysteries still, and it's understandable that people are a bit worried, because
We have this all the time, and actually, so like a very simple example. We've been creating this model for understanding language, understanding text in like corporate documents. This was actually for a manufacturing company. They sell some machines, right, and they have user manuals for those machines, and we are training the model to find that information directly in those user manuals. So you say, "Oh, this is broken," and it gives you, "Oh, here's a paragraph that tells you how to replace this part of the machine." And that company, it's a large manufacturer, so obviously large companies grow through acquisitions, right? So they acquire a lot of different companies that make some parts for the machines that they sell. And so this one manufacturer of this one part called, this part widget A, and some other company that was integrating that part, they called it widget B. It wasn't like that. It was like a completely different word, right? And we put all of those documents through through our model, and then suddenly you were asking about widget A, and we're showing you results for the widget B as well, right? And we were like, how does it know that this is the same thing? We know this is the same thing because we've seen those machines, but nowhere it says that those are the same thing. But the language model understood that because it read all of those documents, and then understood that, all right, those things are used in the same context, or they are kind of pointing that to the same direction, right? A human would do the same, right? You would read all of those and be like, yeah, this is probably the same thing. It was incredible. This was like kind of the first thing that like shocked me when in our work. I was like, oh, this is how does it do that?
Yeah, probably machines recognize that pattern somehow much better than humans, because you have patterns. Okay, after sometimes I need to read zillion of books and say, yeah, these two parts are actually the same part. Even they call them together differently. But on the other side, machine can find some hidden pattern. That's what you say, and that's really amazing. And as Javier said, that, it's too good. Even we created model. I was so surprised in a nice way. Like it's more right? So that's really amazing part. And probably people are scared of that, but.
Yeah, there is another issue that is super interesting. That is the issue of the scale. So in this, in some of the recent very large models, they have noticed that after you bring the scale up a certain point, so there is an improvement that is kind of linear, but when you reach a certain point of scale, there is a leap, a qualitative leap suddenly at a certain point. Nobody yet understands why, but what is really interesting is that. As Robert Sapolsky, this famous American scientist, said, the genetic difference regarding our nervous system between chimpanzees and humans, the main one is that we have 3 times more neurons than chimpanzees. So in the last years, we're starting to really see that, okay, a scale is not just about a scale. A scale is not enough by itself, but a scale really, really does matter. We are really seeing it. It's not enough. Architecture is very important. Paradigms are very important. It's not enough with scale, but scale really matters. And we're starting to see very weird things. Again, we are starting to see as we go up in scale, suddenly there are these leaps of qualitative improvement, and nobody really understands very well why yet, all these mysteries.
That's really, really good to know. Especially I'm working these days with a huge amount of data, so it's good to know it will bring some value. Of course, if data are correct, but still there is no logical explanation for that yet, right? There is something, but still we can't reach that level.
Well, again, I mean, going back to ourselves, human beings, again, we have 3 times more neurons than chimpanzees. And as Robert Sapolsky said, maybe those 3 times more neurons are the ones responsible for our philosophy, our music, our reasoning in many ways. We are not sure yet, but as time advances, we see more and more this importance of scale, which is a bit frustrating, right? Because if scale is so important, then the very large companies, of course, the
Take
power
advantage
gap
of that,
that you
yes.
talked about, Cuba, the power gap that you talked about, can become even larger, right? Because not many people can access that, capacity.
It's
to
a
go.
gold mine for the large companies and huge data
Yeah.
sets, right? I mean, all large companies treat their data as a gold mine, so they really hide it from outer world, and it's not so open because they can make advantage. Especially if you say on this example, it can be 3 times more leap or peak time because you can analyze more and more data. And also, this brings me to one question now. Sorry, you want to say something?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Go,
Kuba, please.
Cuba, go, Cuba.
Go, Kuba.
Yeah, this is so you're right, Radovan, that all of the companies hold their data and like, oh, this is our precious resource. The funny thing is that most of them don't do anything with that data. It just sits there because they have no idea how to use it. They have how to actually extract value out of it. So there's this kind of cliche saying, right, that data is the new oil. But I think it's a really good analogy because oil by itself, like you pump it out to the ground, what do you do with it? Nothing, right? You have to refine it. There's like a lot of work to be done to actually extract value out of it, right? So that's exactly right with data as well. You have to look at it, massage it, and maybe then there is something in there. But there's definitely something in there. It's just how to extract this.
Yeah, that's great analogy. Especially, I have never think about oil against the data and why it's so similar. Because just laying down oil doesn't bring any value. But when you put it in a car, do something useful, you can create energy, you can create this and that, which is great. And also, it brings us to the next question about it's almost done with 2022. We are going to 2023. It was so excitement. Many things happened. Do you recognize any concept, tool, or paradigm for you, and in your opinion, was a game changer in the data and AI world? And is there anything worth to pay attention? New rising star in open source sky or corporate sky? What do you think about that? What is the number one event, paradigm, tool in this year, and what you can expect from the next year?
Well, in my opinion, of course, always biased towards generative AI. I would say that the biggest thing that has happened this year is probably the appearance of Stability.ai, this organization. Before Stability.ai appeared, it looked like DALL-E 2 and all of these models were going to be these closed systems that people would access with APIs. And then suddenly Stability.ai appeared, and it open sourced this stable diffusion model that is very similar to DALL-E 2, but it's completely free to download and to tweak and to incorporate anywhere. And this is really a game changer. This is going to accelerate a lot the appearance of thousands of platforms and applications and way more experimentation. And now, of course, Stability.ai has raised like $100 million. There are a lot of issues happening as well with them in the last days. Everything is very fluid. But for me, there is no doubt that this is like the big thing of the year. This is a game changer completely. And towards the future, 2023, well, connecting with Cuba, there are all of these rumors that GPT-4 is around the corner, that it may be launched in spring 2023, and that it's going to be incredible, and it's going to be massive, and it's going to be multimodal. So a lot of expectations about GPT-4 coming maybe in spring 2023. And of course, 2023, we're probably going to see a lot of improvements in text to 3D in generative AI, in text to video in generative AI, and also in text to, or in general in VR and AR applications of generative AI. They are already beginning a little bit, and they're going to really expand in 2023.
Great explanation, Javier. Cuba, your thoughts on that?
I think I agree with with generative AI and like stable diffusion and all of those, the kind of open source models. This has been really the star of the year in that space. In kind of the public space, for me, for like the kind of industry and enterprise applications, of course, I'm biased in this text direction, and actually, I think for more kind of corporate organizations or public sector organizations that we work with, not so much generation of text or images, but more natural language understanding and being able to do this, what Harry calls in the article, this kind of compression of information, right? So that you can convergence, right? That you can summarize text or find the kind of find find things through meaning rather than through keywords and stuff like that, right? So I think this is a kind of more mature application of those large deep learning models. And GPT-4, yes, a lot of kind of hype around that in our world. Those can be used as well for natural language understanding, depending how you kind of craft the prompts. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think in kind of those more mature business applications, more of the natural language understanding, I think there's lots of work to be done there as well. This is, when I say mature, this is still like super bleeding edge, and a lot of companies, they have no idea about anything in that space, which is okay, right? They don't want the bleeding edge. They want something that's kind of more stable and they can depend on.
Industrial standards in that case, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's an interesting question here in the chat.
I want to highlight that. Sorry, can I verbalize it? I will say my opinion at the end, but I think this is a super interesting question and I want to follow up on that. Sorry, Kuba, for that. How do you see adoption of self-service data service like BI or any other transformation tool? And does it work for more business people or it's only utopian and buzzword? So yeah, eager to hear your opinion on that.
So Michał Balan, I think, another fellow Polish person. So I see this as on the same kind of level as all of the no-code tools. Mm-hmm. And my opinion of no-code is, it might be useful for kind of maybe small prototyping things, but what you're essentially doing is, with anything more complex than kind of a hello world of the no-code tools, you are just moving the logic and the complexity of what you actually encoding with code, with programming, to kind of a different level. And what is even worse, what's kind of worse, you're moving it to this closed platform of this no-code tool. So you're starting to depend on that. And sooner or later, you will have to have someone that actually understands this complexity. So for some of the no-code tools, basically a software engineer. For this kind of self-service BI and data transformation tools, you will need like a data engineer that will understand this and will be able to click around and know when something breaks, how to fix that. So
I would say everything is good, but for some more complex stuff, as you said, you need to put your hands in dirt. You can't avoid it, at least as per my experience. So
exactly, and you have
end up with code somehow. Yeah.
Exactly, and you have something that you build in this tool, and it breaks, and you're like, crap! I now had to find someone that understands this tool, for maybe not understands in industry standard languages, for example, right? Mm-hmm. And you realize then, this won't scale, so I have to move it to this industry standard language. So you added more time, more effort to the project, and possible downtime and different kind of horrors.
Fully agree. We need to wrap up slowly because we are running out of time. I think we have 2 more minutes. At least this was an incredible session for me. It was eye-opener, especially from you and Javier, about new generative AI things, combining arts, technology, data, many other nice things. For sure, my 2 cents on this. This was super exciting year. And of course, if you are in data world, there is no boring day, definitely. And for next year, expect more and more stuff. So please, short recap from your side. Javier, maybe you first.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. I loved all your perspectives and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we are all expectant about the future. And I think a lot of what we've said here and the last bits that you commented about the last question, again, it goes a lot about system 1 and system 2, I mean, these things help us with system 1, but we realize, it's not enough, at the end, system 2, we still need it, so we still need to be there, so it only gets off that far, and this touches a lot of these questions. So very exciting. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you guys here.
Thank you, Javier. Cuba, your final word.
Thank you. Amazing meeting you guys and having a bit of a discussion. Now even more sad that the conference is virtual. We cannot go now grab a beer, or now maybe in a couple of hours.
Yeah, hope can meet for a pint of beer somehow in vivo.
Exactly. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure we'll manage. So thank you very much. Very grateful for the discussion.
And for our audience, I hope they enjoy the session and discover many new things, at least to be inspired how interesting is data and AI world are, and especially to combine many disciplines like arts, tech, data engineering, that kind of stuff. And thanks to organizers provide us chance and opportunity to chat and discuss many ideas. This is just the beginning, I would say. And yeah, have a great day and rest of the conference. So enjoy.